I found myself in a room with no distinct features, just files against each of the walls, catalogued like a library. The first one I came across was one that read, "Girls I have liked." I opened the file up just slightly and took out one of the cards. Reading just half of it, I had to close it quickly because it dawned on me, without needing to be told, I knew instantly where I was. This room, these files, they were a catalogue of my life. I wandered through looking at the different titles, pizza toppings I have enjoyed, people I have shook hands with. Each file I read contained so much information, the mind couldn't hold any of it. It was so vast and detailed. Some of the files brought me great joy, jokes I have shared with my friends. And then others just brought shame. People I have gossiped about. Friends I had let down. I came to one that read, DVDs I have watched. I decided to pull this one out and see what the context was. I kept pulling and pulling and pulling, and I had to slam it shut eventually because there was a sense of regret came upon me. Not necessarily at the context of these DVDs, oh no, but the vast amount of time this one file held of my life. So much wasted time. And that's when I saw it. The file simply marked lustful thoughts. Sent a shiver down my spine. I approached with caution, checking over my shoulder, making sure no one was around. I opened it just slightly, not wanting to test the volume of this file. I pulled out a card and started to read. The detail of this thought, it was too much for me to take. I remember suddenly feeling angry. I suddenly felt emotionally angry and frustrated that someone could remember this detail and mark it down. These files, they had to be destroyed. That's what had to happen. I had to destroy this room, burn it down, rip these files up. No one could see these files, oh no. Could you imagine people at church if they knew what I thought about them? Could you imagine my friends who knew I gossiped about them? Oh no. I rushed towards the file and I remember pulling it out with all my might and shaking it, trying to get these files to fall out, but they wouldn't. So I took them out hand by hand and tried to tear them up, but with no joy. But they were as if they were made of steel, unrippable. I simply leaned against the wall and let out a pitiful sigh of sorrow for myself. Then there was a box. It seemed newer than all the others. A shinier handle, as if it wasn't used very much. The title, I still see it clearly now. people I have shared Jesus with. I pulled it open and the cords fell into one hand. No, surely this file's bigger. It has to be. But there it was. My whole faith fitting into one hand. That's when I start to feel sorrow, a deep sorrow. I remember just falling to my knees and I began to weep for myself. Such shame. That's when I noticed someone had entered the room. They were behind me. I couldn't bear to see who it is, but they stood right next to me. And I slowly looked up and no. Anyone, please, anyone else but Jesus. But there he was, standing, staring at me with a look of pity. One that didn't make me angry, just sorrowful. These files, this room didn't seem to matter anymore. He started to read the files. Instinctively, he seemed to go to all the worst ones, so I looked away. I couldn't bear to stare at him. But when I got the courage to take just a few glimpses, there was a sorrow much deeper than my own. It was clear upon his face, this sorrow and pity and a merciful look. After he read all the files, Jesus came, knelt next to me and hugged me and began to weep with me. Oh. After a while, he stood up again and started to go back to the files. I thought, why does he want a second look? But then to my horror, I realized what he was doing. He wasn't going for a second look. He went over to sign his name where my name once was on all these files. I was horrified. I said, no, Jesus, not your name, not your perfect, beautiful, holy name. Not on these cords, it can't be. And I ripped one of them out of his hand, and yet there it was, in a crimson red, like blood. Written over my name was the name of Jesus. I don't know how he did it, but he seemed to sign all the cards within seconds. And when he was done, he took me by my hand and helped me up. And then led me out of the room. I remember looking back at the door that wasn't locked. Oh no, my life wasn't over at this point. But on the door was engraved these words: For God so loved this world, He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Amen.